Take it away.
Jeff, maybe just give us an update on what's been going on here.
E&H are gonna finish up with their punch list and their stone wash today. They should be done today. Bi-State is in. They done their footings and tuck pointing on the cheek walls. They're started to set stone today. They're working forward with that. They got 2 more guys coming on Monday, so they're gonna have a good dent on that by the end of next week. C&J, we got them coming back Thursday for dirt backfill, start grading, bringing things up to grade. And then they're gonna be around to prep for the concrete. And we've got 2 drains on the south side that still need to be cut into the sewer drain over here.
When you talk about the concrete, is that the coating you're talking about?
I'm talking about the sidewalks.
Oh, the sidewalks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna start getting that going here in the next couple weeks. That's what, we should have our concrete crew here by the 17th, start working on that concrete. The vault windows, we're just about to have all the trim finish up, so the interior windows will be pretty much done. The archway, by the end of next week, we plan on having them doors hung and have everything wrapped up with the archway. Midwest Caulk, Mitch and I talked to them today. They're getting the collar match they were hoping would be in next week and be able to start on the coating.
That shouldn't take them too long once they're got the material.
They said about a week per, but
Really?
yeah, per side. So we'll have to shut one side off as, you know, as they go to get the 3 sides done,
You
so.
give Chip as much lead time in that as possible.
Yeah, so you
Yeah, yeah, so the hard part's done, putting the coating on should go a lot quicker, so.
How long does that take to dry, Jeff?
I couldn't tell you, yeah. we
Depends
have
on the
to ask them.
temperature.
Oh, so the weather?
So have you gone back in and, I assume the southern portion is gonna be the last one they coat, right?
It doesn't
Southern-
get
It
coated.
doesn't get
Doesn't
coated.
get coated, it's,
That doesn't get coated at all?
No.
And then as soon as they get that done, we can get the erectors out here. We've got the handrails down to our shop, the brass handrails, and then we can get all the handrails, get them started on that, get them going. And then talked to the landscaper last week. He was supposed to be out and get us a mock-up for the block. He didn't get that done, but yeah, he'll be, as soon as we get the concrete done, get everything lined out and
you gonna
moving
lay
forward.
sod then? Are you laying sod?
Sod will be first part of September before we can't lay sod. They won't guarantee it before September, so.
So, soil lift's gone now completely?
They are,
Okay, so what are we doing about the dentals?
The dentals are acceptable. We've looked at those. They're fine. We have reviewed those already. We do need to talk about a lift back to look at the 3rd floor windows.
Okay. So the dentals though, what did you guys end up doing regarding the dents and the rust and all that kind of stuff?
The dents have been covered. They have been there's a new sheet metal covering on them.
Okay.
That covering was put in place with rivets until they were soldered. The rivets have then been removed and covered. So from our perspective, that's an acceptable approach, and it was approved, and the workmanship is fine.
Okay.
So we've looked at, one second, to my knowledge, we've looked at over 3/4 of the building. I don't know if there's the last quadrant that still needs to be
the
looked at.
southeast corner, and we
That
still
still
need to
needs to
look
be
at
done.
that.
That's
Yeah.
right, thank you.
Yeah,
For the dentals, you mean?
yes,
Okay.
but from the ground, they look good, but we get up in the lift, and if there's anything that needs to be,
So a lift is coming back, is what you're saying?
we're gonna have to get one, because we found a spot where the stone comes into the roof up by where the Madison County is, that didn't get caulked across there, so we're gonna bring Scribner back in, bring him in to caulk that.
Okay.
So that's why one of the reasons I was talking to him today, to see when he'd be available, so that can make sure I have a lift here for that.
Okay.
And if you wanted to go take a look then, I could take you up then, Heather, but that old,
We can't go on.
So my question is that, do we have pictures? Did I ask for pictures of the final approved?
Yeah,
yeah, they're on Procore.
yep.
I took a lot of pictures.
I'm sorry, Procore.
I'm not sure if the supervisor, but I've got pictures that we can get sent to you.
Yeah, I'd like to see those. please.
Yeah.
Procore's the software that's used for punch listing.
Okay, okay.
How much trim do they have left in that vault room?
Very little, yeah, they're just about there. We're making some of the final pieces that Greg was bringing some down today, so we should be pretty close on that.
And that's where?
The vault room,
Okay.
Across from the supervisor.
we got the wide casing on, we got a few of the smaller casing that goes on the inside. The base piece, we've got that coming, and then the chip blanking we're having made right now to go in between the casing underneath the windows, all 4 windows.
Has that south window been addressed, the one with the pipe? Has that been painted, covered? Is that done yet?
They haven't done the air conditioning line. I think they painted the conduit, if I remember right. I'll
Believe so.
take a look.
Do you need a lift for that to get up there, or you just do a ladder? or-
They use a ladder, they were doing it off a ladder.
Okay.
3 and 4, nothing new there. I don't have any new change requests. I did receive a proposal request for patching some wood ceiling at the 2 areas.
Here it is, guys.
So,
I was out one day looking around and,
You read the pigeons while you're at it?
yeah, I couldn't whack them, I tried, but they've got up in here, this is rotten right here, you can see. And
Well, we've
Jimmy,
known that for a long time.
yeah, and I told Jimmy, we can't walk away and leave this, because now the birds are up.
Right.
in
Well, I
it.
thought they were supposed to repair that as part of that.
Well,
I think
We talked about that a year ago, we pointed that out a year ago, that should have been fixed.
and it's not been.
It's not in the original documents as a part of the scope of work. It may have been talked about a year ago. I don't recall that myself, Heather.
I don't
We'll
think
need
you
a-
were here, it was in the
Okay,
end.
but we will, if it's not in the original scope, we will still need a proposal request for the repair, so that's what Mitch has got at this point.
Because I know Diane brought it up a year ago, because you noticed it a year ago.
No, I brought up the pigeons about the doors.
Because you talked about that hole and the rotten wood.
Well-
And it's probably just gotten worse over the year.
So I've got them, they've got it fixed.
Yeah, I think we should.
So pricing that, previous meeting items, I don't have anything there. As far as new business, I do have the, just want to pass it, actually, take one of those.
Got enough here for everybody?
Actually, just one page. So that's the draft of the ramp warranty terms, so just take some time to review those and
Can
kind
you
of,
send that to a soft copy so we can forward it to our attorney?
yeah, it's just a starting point, so. That's all I had, so.
Let's see if there's any questions or comments about this first.
documenting the current level of cracks? I mean, it's
We have photographs of the ramp. This year, we have partial photographs of the ramp from prior years, is what I would tell you.
I have photos as well. So a couple questions here. It doesn't say exactly what's covered under the warranty. Materials, labor, extents of that, I'd like to see that. Also too, can you explain to me the additional cracking failure language? I'm not quite following what that means. Does that mean that if we see additional 25% more new visible cracks, the warranty would come into play?
Correct.
Okay, all right, so that probably needs some cleaner language on that. I know this isn't the actual
Yeah.
warranty, so I know that there'll be more legalese, but I'd like to see that clarified. Also, the length of term that we wanted was 7 years from time of handover, not 7 years from the time the ramp was poured. So this language on here says 3 years.
We said that numerous
This says
times.
5 years, well,
It
yeah,
says
2 year
five.
standard.
3 years
3 years.
extended beyond the
Yes.
standard 2 years, so for a total of 5, and that is not what we agreed to as a board.
We mentioned 7 from handover numerous
No,
times.
sure.
In fact, we wanted, I mean, you wanted
3
10.
days.
So,
I'm going to tell you what I remember. I think the number 7 came up from the fact that we were talking about a 5-year extension of an already 2-year warranty that you have.
mhm.
So once it's accepted, there's already a 2-year warranty that's in place, and then in addition to that, there's a 5-year component that would give you a total of 7 years of protection for
But
this.
we've already
Correct.
done 2 years.
Correct.
But it's
So,
not
but
been
he's only
accepted
putting
yet.
3 years here, is
So
my
it's from the time of acceptance.
Oh,
So I think we're navigating this as we talked about. I think the duration is what we did talk about last time. I just want to try to make sure we understood.
I think we
That's
understood that there's the 2-year, and
Okay.
then we were adding to that. But this is the 2-year plus 3 for a total of 5, and we wanted a total of 7.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
So this is a good starting point, Mitch, but I'd like to see this fleshed out, because to be honest with you, this is really not something we can send to our attorney yet.
Yeah, I mean, this is
We need to see
just
the
terms, this is
Right.
not
this is your
exactly
rough.
lawyer language,
Okay.
so.
Right, so, I mean, I'll need to review this a little bit more and go to my contacts on this, on that. But those are the initial things that I see that needs to be addressed on here. But the meat and potatoes is, we need to know exactly what the coverage is. So, once we agree to the terms, we need to know exactly what the coverage is. Does that mean it covers material, labor,
Okay.
soup to nuts, which is, I think, what we prefer, right, Diane?
Yeah.
Well, it says replacement of slabs only from control joint to control joint, but
Yeah.
just a little more
That's
clarification
It
on
could
that.
be a little clearer.
But it needs to show exactly what's covered. Some warranties only cover materials, some warranties cover material and labor. There may be permitting costs, I don't know. That's not that area of construction I'm not familiar with. So what I'd like to see is that there's language in here that the county pays nothing.
The demo probably is more involved in the replacing of it. This is
Yeah.
probably not.
Right, the labor is gonna be more extensive than, costly than the materials. So those are my initial feedback. I can get, once I had a chance to review this,
Good starting point.
yeah. I can get
So,
back to more.
just so we're, just for maybe some assistance here, this is going to define ultimately the material, labor, what's covered, and how it's measured or determined for failure. What you're going to see and what your attorney will get, frankly, Heather, is a form. It's not complex, it's not complicated in any way. It's a pretty standard form. This will be the term then that's attached to it, and this defines really the meat of the warranty, if you will.
Right.
So I think this is probably the thing that we need to arrive at, and the rest should probably flow through pretty quickly.
Right, that's true. I mean, the contractual portion of it that the attorney will review, yes. But I want him to make sure that the language of the warranty is also compliant with what he feels, she in this case, feels is best. So I wanna see the whole thing.
Okay, yeah, sure.
But yeah, this is a good start.
And this will be attached to that warranty or surety bond, that, correct? That if-
You have the actual,
Yeah.
the boilerplate, Diane, and then you have the actual, what the warranty
Yes.
covers, so.
That's what-
So, yeah, and Aaron needs to review both of that. So, I'll probably have more feedback to come back. Should I just send it to you, Mitch, or both of you?
Yeah, both.
Okay, but those are my initial observations on this at this point.
Okay.
Can we talk, well, I'll wait for comments.
All right. Is this in my court now to ask a few questions? Is that what we're doing? Okay. A couple things. Diane, on my punch list, you pointed out something yesterday and questioned it, and that's fine to do. I've had a chance to talk about this more on site today. You were specifically asking questions about the east ramp, the southeast corner, the cornerstone that is at the base of that, the granite cornerstone. I asked them to reset that. I asked them to reset it because it's slightly askew. I think that has been made necessary by the way the wall ultimately was poured. After talking with the mason today, I do not know that the fix is worth the effort and potentially creates other problems with the stone above it. So it's not a longevity issue or a duration issue in any way. It is something that is probably visible to me because I'm probably have a keener eye than most of the public. The only time that you really see it is if the sun is coming across that wall at just the right angle and you see just a little sliver of a shadow line on that. So you can choose to accept it. I just want some direction today on whether you all feel that we should pull it or.
So you're saying if you do fix it, you might actually create more problems then?
Yes.
I think if you fix
When
it.
you walk out,
So
Heather.
let me, just take a sec, I have no idea what you're talking about,
All right,
because
I'll
I did not get a
explain.
copy of this punch list.
Well,
I don't
it was
get-
on
I don't
field-
get
it was on-
copies of
it-
anything.
It was on
It's
field
on
reports.
the field reports, and I know that I copy you all on those.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, so, based on your comment recently, is that you said it can't be reset due to how the wall was poured.
No,
Was the
it
wall
can be.
poured incorrectly?
I think there's probably a tolerance issue on the wall, and the only way that you can come to understand that exists is when you're actually laying the masonry. What I would have expected would have happened is when we ran into that problem, I wish the mason would have informed Jeff. They would have given us a call, and we could probably have tried to solve this at that moment easier than we can now. If we pull that stone out now, there's unsupported stone above it that we want to make sure that we're not disturbing, and that's one of the reasons I would suggest we could certainly consider leaving it.
I thought that was something else. Okay, so, so was there no double checking of the wall to make sure that it was poured
There's
correctly
no
before
double
we?
checking that's required of that wall, Heather, from an observation standpoint. This is a common thing where if we discover it, we're going to discover it as the different trades start to work in sequence. What typically would have happened is that mason would have come to Jeff and say, hey, I got a problem, how do you want to address this? I don't think that question ever came.
Okay, so what you're saying is that it's okay to pour a wall and not double check to make sure it meets specs? I'm confused.
There's going to be construction tolerances that
Right.
are acceptable. There are going to be instances where something isn't necessarily going to meet the exact dimension on a drawing.
Because I know
Especially,
we've had issues with this wall throughout this project. We keep finding things that are an issue. Some are small, some are big. So I'm a little frustrated that it seems every time we go along, there's another little hiccup.
Heather, I would tell you that's the normal part of construction. What's different here is we didn't have some questions that went through the right process that would have allowed us to adapt to the situation that was there, and then we would have come to a resolution and not this moment that we're sitting here talking about.
Okay, so we can't, so basically you're saying we can't fix this?
we can fix it. We can pull it out. We potentially then are disturbing stones that might be above it. It's a fix to repair a cosmetic issue that I believe is a minor one. I flagged it because I don't think it is up to most construction standards.
Okay.
But it's a
So-
visual issue, and
so-
it's indicated in the photograph.
Okay, so my concern is that I keep encountering small cosmetic issues throughout this project. And some are bigger, obviously we need a warranty for our cement pour, but that's my concern and that is my frustration is these, we keep finding things, which if it was one or two things, I understand, that's the nature of construction. But I continually seem to find things that have to go back and we have to go fix, or in some cases we can't fix. Or in other cases, like the dentals, it was damaged as part of the installation, and rather than, we paid for new dentals, brand new copper dentals, rather than pulling them down and getting what we paid for, brand new ones, we have to go back up there and fix it with solder and patches and repainting and all that kind of stuff. So this is my frustration, is we are supposed to be, I understand there's gonna be mistakes occasionally, but it just seems that constantly we're being asked to accept less than quality work, and I'm frustrated about that.
Heather, you can be frustrated. I'm telling you, there's a lot of this that is normal construction process. I do not think we're compromising the work. This is a cosmetic issue on this particular case. Had we been here and observed it earlier, if we had a question, it would have been set correctly initially, and we would have been fine. We're in a situation now where we have not had the ability to hear some questions and to react to those. When that happens, it creates questions later that you're frustrated about, frankly, that we're all frustrated about, and we do our best to navigate those. I'm giving you a choice. I can either say, this is not going to be acceptable, or I can say it is acceptable because we've got a shadow line there.
So help me understand, why aren't these things being caught early enough to be addressed?
Because there was no question.
What do you mean there's no question?
There was no question to me, frankly, and I'm sorry, I'm frustrated. There was no question to me to tell me there was a problem. I am not on site every day. Jeff is not here and checking things to that level. He's not even been here the whole job. We have a situation that was built not exactly to specifications. It is something, though, that could be construed as acceptable. In my judgment, then, at the end of the job, when I can actually find something like that, because we've had no question to flag it earlier, then we have to react to it. So it's not a matter of poor supervision. It's a matter of, frankly, we've got some folks in trades that are working on the job that I wish we would have heard some questions from sooner.
This is only sticking out about 1/8 of an inch, and 99% of the time you can't even see it.
You can't.
The light hit it just right when Rick was here inspecting the wall, and you can see it.
And I'm the one who sent Rick an email. He asked the stonemason to pull the whole cornerstone out. I think that will compromise this wall more than sticking out, and I wouldn't have
How would it
noticed it.
compromise the wall if these are just surface stone?
Because he has to
Other
take
blocks
all,
are on top
the
of it.
blocks are on top of it.
You try to fix a minor
It's the
issue, you might
marble on
create
the
a
bottom.
major issue.
Yeah,
It's the marble
it's
on the
that
bottom.
corner,
So
just
there's
the
8
corner
pieces of
bottom.
stone on top of it, so you got all that weight of that stone.
Those stones fixed.
And it lines up on the corner, it lines up flush on this side, it lines up flush on the top here, and then down at the bottom, there's about 1/8 inch to where when the sun hits it just right at 9:30 in the morning, you have a shadow. The rest of the day, you know.
Right, so help me understand for my own education. When we pull stones out in the courthouse, now, we've pulled stones out to repair them, to replace them, whatever,
Yeah.
and there's stones on top of them, just like that. Why is that okay to do, whereas we can't do it on this?
Which we probably have a 1-inch grout line, and they're designed different. There's a different kind of, this stone, the flat stone, is where we got the edges.
It's veneer.
Right.
This stone on the ramp is a veneer. Veneer is more difficult to do it with, but you certainly can do it. If I have a problem in this brick here, I can take out a section of that wall, and the remaining brick around it usually support it. or if the hole's large enough, you have to support it with a crib.
And you're saying the veneer does not have that?
No, the veneer has support from ledger angles that are behind it, and it's fastened to the wall. I'm saying it is possible that if we remove this stone, there is going to be some damage to a stone above it, or the mortar cracks above it, and we would have to reset more stones above it. It can be accomplished. That's one of the reasons I flagged it. It is a relatively minor issue. It bothers me, though, when I see a great installation of the entire wall, all the stones are flush, and we can see one, with probably an oversensitive look at this from my perspective, that has a shadow in it.
Oh, no, trust me, I can see stuff like that too. And it bothers me as well. But if this was an error on the point of one of the contractors, it shouldn't matter what it's gonna take to fix it. Why don't we just fix it?
I'm worried it'll cause more damage to take it out.
But it's just a veneer, it's not like there's no structure on
If you
top
go
of it.
talk to the mason, he has to take it all out.
Which exact spot is it?
Yeah, it's
I
on
think
the
we need to
corner.
take
It's
this
on
to
the
look
corner.
at it.
We can,
You see, take a look and
I
see.
think that's a good idea. I think we're supposed to be going to the site after this anyway to look at concrete, or look at paving. We can take a look at it then.
Okay.
These
So
are
it'd
the
be my-
cornerstones that were set after the fact that weren't
Right,
set
because they had
right.
we got to
Yeah.
order them.
So everything else was set, and then these came back and were set after the fact.
I would suggest they don't show you, see if you can find it. I mean,
Well, it's
very
he
difficult.
just showed me a picture of it, and I remember seeing that
Very
picture, I thought we were
difficult.
talking about something else.
Yeah.
So,
I went when there was no shadow.
Right.
Yeah.
I couldn't see.
All right, so why don't we try to do that after the fact? So maybe, can we move to the paving for just a second?
mhm.
So, last time we were here, we were talking about how much of the paving should be replaced. The only areas that really are in question that we should have your review of would be anything that is on the street curb. Anything inside of that, with the exception of the area that's around the bell, is to be replaced already.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so we all understand that.
Mhm.
So if we do that and we find some things, Jeff can take a can of construction paint, we can mark those areas, and then we price those, and you could determine whether that was acceptable or not. So you still want to do that,
I
correct?
think
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Because while we're in there doing that stuff,
Yeah.
there's some of that perimeter concrete that's bad, it has nothing to do with the construction.
Okay.
It's
But
the
Phil,
road.
my
It's
question
the-
to you is, if we do it in patching, is that gonna look worse, rather than replacing the whole thing all at once?
I don't want to patch cement, it never matches and it doesn't wear at the seam.
So like, if, I understand that there's some stuff that damages part of quite construction, that's fine, but the other stuff that you're talking about, we can pull it out and replace it, but it's not gonna look.
I understand that, but I think we need to look at it probably both ways, I mean, by the time you fix everything that's bad, are you doing 80% of it anyway, in which case you might as well do all of it, or are you only doing 20%, in
Yeah.
which case, maybe it makes sense to do
Do
the
it all,
20%.
just get.
Okay.
So
bite
I think
the
that's
bullet,
what we
get
need to
done.
do.
Okay,
I think that's what we need to identify.
Yeah, because some sides look all right,
Yeah.
and there's some that are pretty bad,
Mhm.
so.
It's-
well,
If
what
you
my
do
thing
from
is,
here to here, and save you the money from here to here.
my point is once all this is done and we have all the nice new concrete
Yeah.
walkways, what might look okay now, once it goes up against that new stuff, it's gonna look
I
bad.
understand.
And that's my concern.
Well,
And a
I
lot
think you
of-
just said replace it all. I'm,
Well, I think,
Yeah.
is 80% bad or 20%
Oh, I
bad?
think-
You know, I think it's gonna be quite a bit when you start looking at it.
Yeah.
and the stuff around the road is,
I know,
Yeah.
The corners are especially bad.
Okay, yeah, I think we're on the same page.
Okay, perfect. Next item I have is, I was asked to come down, Heather, and look at the door and how that installation is coming together. It's not the intent to cut those doors down, top or bottom. There may have to be some adjustment on the jambs. I don't know the extent of that yet. I need to go back and look at some of our detailing and talk with Scott and Anna Marie on a couple things here. The trim that is on the face of the doors is something that I want to make sure that we've considered correctly as we look at the operation of the doors. So I need a little bit of time to get some additional information and direction on those things, but
You're talking about the new doors in the vestibule?
I'm talking about the existing doors that are on the exterior, okay? And there's a couple things there that after seeing that again today, I've got a few questions on, so I need time to,
The doors would have to get removed.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'll be back to you with what we would suggest on how to do that, and we can figure out a way forward on that. We may be fine, I just may not understand what my architects have told me, but I want to check on a couple things there, okay? Last, I have something I would like you all to consider. We don't have to do this, but I think it might be a way to give ourselves a little measure of insurance on the third floor windows. So I've talked with Marvin about this, and there's a couple things up there that I don't quite understand, and I'm wondering if this is a timing issue on whether on those windows, when those windows were sealed, or whether it's an air conditioning issue or whatever. But one of the things that we're still charged with is we need to take a look at the exterior windows on the third floor again. We had the staining on multiple windows. The ones on the third floor, I think, were probably some of the first that we saw. We've got that staining corrected. I want to make sure that we don't run into more problems, but we need to take a look at those windows from the exterior again. So one of the things that we've told you we will do as the final part of the punch list on that windows are we want to take a look at the air conditioning. We want to make sure that the slope on those air conditioners is sloping out for the manufacturer's installation instructions. We want to check all the windows and the sealant between the window frames and the stone. I don't know that all of that was in there, or whether all the windows were sealed at the time some of this staining started. So that's the second thing that we will be looking for during the punch list. So that sealant around the air conditioners, the sealant around the windows are things that I think that may have contributed to some of that, and we all know that we've got another issue with the air conditioners and the condensation in the interior. It's maybe an operational question for some of that. So, as an added measure of insurance, I do wonder, if this is like a third floor window for a second. I've talked with Marvin about this. They are comfortable doing this. They have no issues with it. But I do wonder if this area here is actually the window sash that gets put in to a window. That's the piece that's either movable or removable, and typically on the third floor then, those are the things that they've inserted and are fixed. So that came from the factory in that way. We've taken one and we've inserted an air conditioner to it, and we've got another one that sort of sits over here, and they may get arched or whatever. But one of the things that Marvin wants to always make sure that we do is, this is the frame here. We should call that the frame. This then would be the sash. That's the thing that would typically be operable. Marvin always wants to make sure that this joint between the sash and the frame is open, so that if anything works into this, either at the jambs or at the sill, it's got a way to weep out. What I wonder if we could do, because these windows are fixed on the third floor, is could we come in here as an added measure of insurance, and at that joint between the frame and the sash, add a thin bead of sealant on the top and the sides to make sure that we're not getting any penetration in those wind-driven issues, and then maybe even a portion across the bottom, allowing any water that might end up here to still weep out, but it prevents stuff from coming in the side and wind-driven rain, and it might be, because these are not operable windows anyway.
This is an exterior view of the window?
This is an exterior view of the window. So when we're up there doing the inspection on these things, we could run that bead around those quickly, and
Aren't they sealed now though?
they're basically sitting in the sash, just like the other, or sitting in the frame, just like the other windows. They all have weather stripping all the way around, but in wind-driven conditions, that's one of the things that may be happening, is that you could be getting something that comes past that weather stripping, and this would prevent that.
So this would be something you put on top of the weather stripping?
So if you think
It's
of,
like
so I'm gonna try to, slice this thing right here, okay? I'm gonna
Okay.
slice it right here. So if we've got the stone and we've got the window that sort of sits in here, right? You also then have sort of trim that's on this and allows a couple tracks in a typical situation where your window actually sort of sits in here and rides in a track, right? The weather stripping is either by flange here, or sometimes it's on the end of these things so that they can slide up and down. That's all there. It sits there. It's even on the bottom of this window. What I'm suggesting is, and we don't have to do this, by the way, but it's an added layer of security for us because we don't know exactly in wind, certain wind-driven conditions, what's caused some of this.
So I'm a little confused. When I was up there and when I did go up there and lift, there was caulking around these windows.
No. There's a caulking around the frame, there wouldn't be caulking between the actual sash and the frame.
Yeah, so,
That's no-
yes.
Okay, so maybe I'm not following.
So here's where we typically caulk, right there.
Okay,
This is stone,
He wants to go all the way around.
this is the window frame here,
right,
this is where you typically see the caulk.
right,
So
okay,
that's the seal between the stone and the window.
correct.
What I'm suggesting is, because these are not operable windows, you have an opportunity to actually
Oh,
come
I
right
see.
here
Okay.
and put another little bead of sealant, I mean, it's smaller than a pencil, that you'd run around the edges of this, and it would basically be an added measure
Okay.
of security.
Why would we not do that? It won't change the warranty, will it? Do they
It's just,
care?
it does not change the warranty, I've verified that with Marvin as well, they
Then
just wanna make sure that
why
we
not?
don't seal the bottom.
Right. Yeah, why wouldn't we do
Does
that?
Marvin did they say they had this problem before with other windows where you wanna go back in and do a beaded caulk around the actual sash?
We don't even know that that's the issue, but this is just, if that were an
We just-
issue, this would be a great
Easy
opportunity.
fix. He's
So
just
are we trying just to eliminate potential possibilities and it's causing that leakage?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And then if this doesn't work, what then?
I don't know what the solution is. You can leave this alone right now. What I'm trying to do is if there's any kind of condition, it would be a wind-driven rain, because these darn things are fixed anyway, why not run a bead of sealant on
I'm
it?
not
It wouldn't
opposed,
look
I'm
good
not
at all.
opposed to that, and I appreciate the extra step. But my concern remains that there are other issues that are causing this that we're not aware of.
The only other issues, the only other things that are on this, Heather, that we will check is the original sealant joint.
Okay?
And I don't think we're gonna find anything there. I think we're finding issues in wind-driven conditions that occur here.
Okay.
And it's only the third floor though, is that because that's?
No, it's occurring on other floors as well, but, I mean, if you can take a third of your windows and put this on it, because these don't operate anyway, why not help us with a little measure of protection
I
there?
don't see that hurts it.
So, I don't have a problem with that, but to your point, Phil, on the second floor, that won't be a solution to the issue on the second floor though.
Well, first, we don't have to do this at all. So you can leave all the windows the way they are, they've gone in according to how Marvin would suggest they go in. I'm just trying to avoid any possibility on third floor anyway, that
Well, the
we've got
second
something
floor-
else that can.
No, and I understand that, and I
Okay.
appreciate
Right.
that, but moving on to the next step is, okay, that may resolve the issue on third floor. And if it does work, then how do we resolve the issue on the second floor? Because I'm assuming we can't do the same thing on the windows in the second floor.
No, we're not. I don't have a solution for it in the other floors. They've gone in for manufacturer's instructions. We will make sure that when we finish and leave the job, they're all placed in that way. You might have an issue on those other floors. You might never have it again, I don't know. But on third, we have an opportunity to do something else that might be an added measure of security, I guess. I think you're gonna have to wait and see what happens on the other windows. But they're installed as they should be.
Okay. So, what if, since we're on this topic, I'll just bring it up. So I had sent you an email regarding potential other ideas of how to deal with the condensation from the AC units and go towards a more portable AC rather than the newer units. And I sent you a couple of examples. Did you have a chance to review that at all?
Heather, I don't know that I recall that.
I sent it to you. I said, they're called portable AC units, and they basically, we'd have to do something with jury rig for the third floor, but we would have to, basically, the unit sets on the floor.
Like a
And it has,
hotel?
it, kinda, sorta, but it has, you can have it either of a dual hose or a single hose, and it's just an insert, and it has a hose that goes
I
out.
I really don't recall seeing this. There's a chance that stuff gets kicked back if it's got a big file in it, but I don't recall seeing this. And if I missed it, that's on me. I just don't recall seeing it. Can you check for me?
I will check for you, but basically what it is that it takes the unit out of the window.
Okay.
And for those windows, we'd have to make the second and first floor windows operable for this particular unit. But it would take it out of the window, it would remove the condensation from being on the wood of the window, and we would just have it have an insert with an exhaust hose out there. And then in the winter time, we could pull it, shut the window.
What happens to the condensation that's created inside the
These
unit?
particular units are self-evaporating.
Are
No,
they
I
the
don't
square
understand.
boxes, and they're about this tall and this wide, and they have a hose on them?
No, there's no hose because they're self-evaporating. Oh, they have a hose that goes outside,
My son has one,
but there's no hose that needs to go anywhere else because they're
but
self-evaporating.
the hose has to go out the window. His does.
It's
a-
just a hole. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, there, you have an insert, there's a hole. The only thing that you see outside is a hole. There's
Yeah.
nothing that goes out.
Then
He
you're
has
talking
one.
about redoing every one of those bottom sashes that's built.
Well,
Wouldn't
my
it?
point being is that there's an additional benefit to that, is that we can put we can reglaze those windows again. So you're not gonna have this big, huge piece of wood. So obviously, third floor, we have to come up with a different solution, but for the first and second floors, we would have these units, because they're self-evaporating, there'd be no need for drainage, you would not have chip to go around them and dump the water. And then come winter time, we pull it out of the window, shut the window.
So you're gonna redo all those windows. I don't think we can afford this, so you'll have to take all the sashes out, put the sashes back in.
We'd have, but it would solve the issue of the evaporation, the wind and the snow through the units. The units would not be permanently in the window anymore, they could be removed, it would aesthetically look nicer as well. And for the third floor, I saw certain contractors did this, I don't know if it's something that can be done. What they did is, we'd still have to have some measure of wood on the third floor, but there would be a hole for the hose, and then you would put in the wintertime, you could pull the hose out, there would be a hole there, but then you could have a soffit, something like a soffit vent to close it, and then open it. And the benefit would be on the third floor, since they get so much heat, they can open it up and let that cold air in to regulate the room. And obviously, this would be a temporary fix until we do the whole shebang for the whole building.
Yeah.
But it could be, I'll check as to why you didn't get it, or I'll resend it, but these were some ideas that I thought would resolve some of our problems, including the aesthetic ones. But my main driver on this was the condensation and the water and
Yeah.
the snow and the ice that we had to deal with over the winter.
You're talking about a major change order to do that, huh?
Not necessarily.
Well,
No.
I think, I'd be glad to take a look at it. As I sit here, I need more information on it, because this is not an option that any of our mechanical engineers typically come to us with. I don't know why, which leads me to wonder sort of, are there limitations to what they can do, or something along those? So I just think I need to get better educated on this particular option, so let me,
It wouldn't work, it would not be good unless the unit was self-evaporated. Because
Yeah,
we
right.
can't, there's no place to drain the water.
Right.
And you'd be dumping buckets every 2 hours.
right.
But the self-evaporated ones are more expensive than the regular portable ones, but it is an option. So I'll see, I'll re-forward it to you if you didn't get it, but, those are stuff that, I'm trying to figure out a way to solve the problem, and
Yeah.
then the benefit, the additional benefit would be the cosmetic, and you'd have the glazing back.
Yeah, okay, I'd be glad to take a look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I've missed it, that's on me, but I don't recall seeing it. I don't have anything else, gang. Thank you for your entertaining a few thoughts there.
Are we gonna go right over and look at the wall? after?
And the sidewalks.
And the
Yeah.
sidewalks.
So, for the stone, was there any other issues with the stone that you guys encountered?
They fixed it.
So where we're at in the process, Heather, is that those items that I listed in that were part of the punch list. What was reported to me today was that they should have all those fixed, with maybe the exception of some patching area or two, and then we would look at it all again. So I think it's all in good progress. What I looked at quickly in passing today looked like everything that I had addressed was taken care of. I do have questions about the cleaning on the stone, the mortar and the stone. The mortar's not coming off the joints on the stone as well as it typically should. I don't know what the issue is there, and we're going to try to see if we can work on that a little better, see if we can clean that up further. But that's sort of where we're at in the process.
And then you changed, I see they changed where you made them take out that little strip and
Mhm,
they put
yeah.
inset that 2
Right.
inches.
So, so the cleaning, is that just part of the normal process afterwards?
Yes.
And then if the stone cannot be cleaned in the normal process, are there different processes that you can use to clean it?
Well, one of the things that I've seen typically done is you take another stone called a dress stone, and you rub the surface of the stone, and it helps, basically by abrasion, you take the mortar off the face of the stone.
Generally, it's like an acid wash, isn't it?
Well, that's different. This is actually physically a stone with a handle on it that you rub over the installed stone that helps remove it.
Will that damage the surface of the stone or make it look different?
We're going to do a test in an area to determine that. Typically, it does not.
Okay. So the other question for me is hypothetical. Once we're done with this and that ramp is turned on during the summertime and it melts all of that ice and snow, where does all that water go?
There's drains on the ramp.
And it drains down the ramp, and where does it go? Because the last thing you want
Into
is,
drains on the ramp. There are several drains
Oh,
all
okay.
the way down the ramp. You'll see them, they're covered right now in plywood.
okay.
There will be areas of grading
Mhm.
across those, and as you come down that slope, it goes into those, and that goes into the storm system ultimately.
Okay, is there gonna be, I don't remember seeing it, is there a drain at the base to the ramp?
All the way.
Several drains. One's at the base, they progress as you go up around the ramp.
Okay.
Does it look like the black drain going into the ramp that Stephen put in, or does it look, what's it?
Probably will look like that, yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, is there any concern about those ramps icing up from all the water?
First of all, one of the ramps was agreed to as being shut down in the winter.
Right.
The other ramp then has the snow
Ice.
melt
Just
on,
leave it. We
and it
put
will
the,
not have ice.
we heated the oven.
So even the grates on that one won't have ice, there's no concern
I
about that?
think that you'll find that it's all pretty temperate and it will keep them, above freezing and it'll be fine.
And at the base of the ramp though, once you get off the heated portion?
Off the base of the ramp, none of that's heated, that's just like another sidewalk.
Okay. Is there any concern that that might turn to ice at the base of the ramp, the water drainage?
There's water and a drain at the bottom of the ramp to catch it before it goes into that area.
Okay.
All right.
Okay?
So where do we leave the solvent? I mean, or the
sealant?
sealant?
I think what I heard is we
Yeah.
should proceed on the third floor and do that.
Yeah.
So we have to get a cost on that then, for the sealant, the manpower, the lift,
Well, we still have to get up and look at the lift, the windows anyway. There's a final punch on all those.
So if you're up in there, can't you have that caulking guy do it when he can go up
Right.
with you at the
Right.
same time?
Is that, the lift have to come back for that?
Well, it does anyway, Jeff said, so
Okay.
just put one of the scriveners up there and have them do it. Is that what you're thinking at the same
we
time?
can caulk it ourselves.
Or you guys?
It's a
Okay.
matter of,
But we can punch it at the same time.
Yeah, so then we won't have to pay, just be a one-time thing.
First of all, you don't have to do it.
No, we want to, we
So
said.
I have no issue with that, I was just trying to understand what the purpose was, and if something similar can be done on the second floor and first floor.
Yeah, out there.
Okay.
All right. So if we would adjourn this meeting and then,
If you wanna do recess it and then
I suppose we
re-adjourn?
almost have to, if we're all going there, we probably need to keep the meeting going.
Yes.
All right, well, we will recess and
And meet over at the
reconvene at the
courthouse.
courthouse.
And then are we coming back here?
South
No.
side, you on the south side?
Yes.
All right, you got a can of paint over there at that point?
One L-shaped stone. a bump in the concrete, some kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So there's the guy who did it,
If
he
we
said he.
had understood it before we said it, we could have probably addressed it. Now to pull it out, that's where we get concerned.
No, I get that.
All the rest are smooth.
All right, we're gonna look at sidewalks and then.
Well, I just need to understand.
I understand.
Okay.
We need to make a decision because they're leaving the site,
Yeah.
aren't they? Yes, we have to decide.
I think so.
We're gonna make him pull it out or go.
Is
does it compromise anything if it stays?
No, not at all.
I believe it.
I'm not happy about it. It seems like I keep asking us to accept bad craftsmanship, and I'm getting sick of it.
All right, let's look at sidewalk.